And the Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champs. I guess that includes my guy, Paul Maurice, who I saw making out with the cup last night.
Ew.
So that happened in South Florida against the Edmonton Oilers. Maybe
Having
some
a threesome with that guy with the gloves.
yeah. What's the keeper of the Cup's name? Phil Pritchard? Sounds right. I think it's Phil Pritchard is that creep's name, who definitely has done just unspeakable things with the Cup. So that was last night in South Florida. They beat Edmonton. I know some Bruins fans are feeling a little better about it. Just real quick before we get into that. And I don't know how much of the game you guys were watching last night compared to the Red Sox. I was flipping back and forth. I was more locked in on the Sox personally, but they wrapped up really leading into that third period last night. So I could watch the beginning of the game and most of the third period here on Jones and Mego with Arcand. We'll get to your phone calls in a moment, talking the Ullmark trade. But I just wanted to mix in a few Stanley Cup final thoughts last night. What was McDavid doing at the end of the game? Like that final 10 seconds when they were digging the puck out in the corner, what was he doing? He's just sitting in front of the net. Like, I understand the logic.
Waiting for that one-timer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the logic is like if a puck squirts out, then he's right in front of the net. It's him and Bobrovsky. Maybe he gets the goal. Like, I get the logic there. You need to get the puck. And they were out there the whole third period. McDonough kept detailing this and talking about this over and over and over again, and they were gassed. But there's 10 seconds left in your seat. Could you go get the puck? Like, help them get the puck in the corner. He also won the Conn Smythe, which I just think is odd.
Focus.
Yeah, I just think it's odd. He put up a great statistical postseason. They got all the way to Game 7. I'm not saying it's unjust. It's just probably not how I would have voted. But
Not
there's
for
all
the
that.
last two games. No.
Yeah, well, that too. Right, that too. It's a good point. And so, how do you feel any differently about the Bruins, knowing that, well, they've played the Panthers pretty tough the last couple of postseasons, which is a low bar. 2 years ago they were the best team in hockey history, and they lose in 7 games to Florida, but they go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. This year they lose to them in round 1 again, put up a bit of a fight, but ultimately bow out, and the Panthers go on to win. Do you feel any better about that?
We're talking about two radically different situations to me.
Well, focus on this year then.
Okay, this year, I don't really feel better about it. I guess that's the idea that you want, that if you're going to lose, you lose to the ultimate champion, so it doesn't look as bad. I don't know. It seems like the Bruins have a real thing with this Florida team, and this Florida team is like the opposite of the Bruins, where they're like fine in the regular season, and then they get to the postseason and, they're playing with their hair on fire, and the Bruins just kind of fizzle out. So if anything, like that's my takeaway from it, is that if you can get somebody like Tkachuk who can really turn it on in the playoffs and be somebody who plays mean and aggressive, I think that's what this team needs more of, and it has needed more of that for years at this point.
Okay, it's the second time I've said that, by the way. They didn't bow out in round 1 against Florida. They beat the Leafs and then bowed out in round 2. So a little bit of progress there, so that's my mistake. But they get there. They play them tough. Like, I guess I feel a little bit like I feel better than if they lost and the Panthers were the biggest choking team of all time, and now you lost to them. I guess I feel a little better. And I certainly feel better than a year ago.
If they caught the choking from you from last year.
Right, and to me, it's like a much more valid question this year because Florida actually won, and you weren't as good this year. You just weren't. Like last year, you were a historically great regular season team, and Florida didn't finish the deal. They got to the Cup final, but they didn't win. So this year, I think it's a more valid question, and I guess I feel a little better about it, I guess.
I don't feel good about it at all because the Panthers, for the most part, their important guys are locked up. Barkov's locked up long-term. Tkachuk's locked up long-term. Forsling's locked up long-term. You got Bobrovsky for 2 more years. There's some guys, Bennett's going to be, or not Bennett, Reinhardt, I think, is up this year. And there's a couple other
Montour
guys.
as well? Like,
Montour,
they're
Ekman Larson for the most part. But
some players.
The core of that team is still very much intact, and I think that it's just going to be another team just like Tampa Bay or just like the Islanders or any of these Senators and these other teams over the not the Senators, the Hurricanes, and these other teams over the last 10 years or so who are just in front of you and you can't get past them. And if you meet them in the second round, you know you're going to lose to them. And it seems like the Panthers now are just another one of those teams on a long list that the Bruins have been looking up at for really the last decade or so.
Yeah, I mean, I get the sentiment of that. I don't know if they have enough history with the Panthers to reach that level to be on that list, but it doesn't feel like they're going anywhere.
Panthers should be a dynasty. I mean,
yeah, even if they had lost this year, we talked about this yesterday. I wouldn't be sitting there going like, you got to blow up the roster. I think the coach would be gone, but I think there's so much intact there that you keep it intact and keep knocking on the door. They won, so I would say even more so that.
Okay, so do you feel any better that the Bruins lost to the eventual Cup champions in round 2 after advancing a round further without Bergeron this year? Do you feel any better 617-779.
Yeah, when do we get Merci Linus?
793.7. It's a good question. Something tells me that won't be running all day on Nesson. Let me hear Razor. Andrew Raycroft was on earlier today with Gresham Fourier. Here's how he felt about the Linus Ullmark deal.
It's a win for me because you had to trade Linus Ullmark. It just wasn't going to work to have him come back. And the longer the deal doesn't get done, the less places there are for Linus to go, the harder it is. So yeah, I think this is a good start. There's a long way to go here, right, guys? They have $24 million in cap space over the next week to spend on players, and there's a lot of guys out there. So I like the start. This opens up free agency. It gets the biggest question mark off the table for the Bruins, and now they can really work the phones and get on the agents and get some players.
Okay, so that's Andrew Raycroft earlier today on Gresham Fourier. If you missed any of that, Odyssey app, AUDACY. You can get it on your phone. Take it with you wherever you go. He likes the deal. ESPN graded it as a B when I was looking at their rankings earlier today. So not everybody thinks it's a terrible deal. Arcand, what'd you compare it to again?
I compared it to the Mookie Betts trade.
Okay, explain yourself.
I don't think that Linus Ullmark and Mookie Betts are comparable players, but I think in terms of what this return was, it was similar in some ways, in the sense that you probably are getting less than what you should be getting because there's only 1 year left and people are looking at him like a rental, which is what I think happened with Mookie. I think you got a much lower return there because it was just the 1 year. In this case, it's different, obviously, because I would have been okay with trading Ullmark last year. I wanted them to re-sign Mookie. I didn't want that in this case. But in terms of what you get in return, in terms of what the return is here, it's an underwhelming return for someone who was a Vezina Trophy winner 2 years ago. That's something that Sweeney should have been able to sell better, just like Chaim Bloom should have been able to sell Mookie better. I think that was a failure of on both of their parts, and I'm not just going to hand wave it away because you don't like Linus Ullmark. I didn't really love him that much either, but you still had something you could sell there, and Sweeney, I think, kind of got pantsed on this deal.
Okay, well, you're saying I didn't like him, but I did want to sell high on him, so maybe they could have got more if they would have listened to me and traded him when they should have. I mean, that's for sure. So I don't see how I'm wrong about that. But with Ullmark, I don't think he's as good as you're making him out to be. He won a Vezina. I just don't think he's that good. He loses his job every time he goes to the postseason, and he had however many years in Buffalo where he stunk. And so I think he's a product of this system here. I mean, I think we've seen that. And I just like Swayman better, but Swayman might be a bit of a product of that as well. But I think Swayman has shown more of an ability to stand on his head and win games and go on a run than Ullmark. He got one chance as the starting goalie in his life, and he advanced around. Ullmark's never done that. Ullmark gets benched every time he goes to the postseason and or loses his job like he did this past year. And so you had more Mookie Betts slander in there, by the way. You don't like Mookie Betts' postseason?
Well, I mean, when he was in Boston, he wasn't very good in the postseason. I think that's fair to say.
Key caveat.
In the 2018 playoffs, he sucked. He was barely above the Mendoza line, and they won in spite of that.
Yeah, so maybe Ullmark will be amazing in the postseason now that he's in.
Now that he goes to Ottawa. Watch him win a cup out there. But he's been better since he came to LA for sure. But you were like, it doesn't matter. Ullmark sucks. And Ullmark was a Vezina Trophy winner. He doesn't suck.
Well, he kind of sucked last year.
And I mean, listen, he was, by the end of the season, him and Swayman were about even in terms of their numbers. It's not like they were very far apart. Swayman started to fall off, and then Ullmark got better as the season went on, which isn't to say I think they should have kept him. I still don't think that. But, I mean, let's not act like this is a good return here. It's not. You got kind of seen in this.
I didn't say it was a good return.
Right.
I'm just prioritizing getting rid of him. That's all. And so if you want to get rid of him, I just think it's the best return they could have got. That's all. And so maybe you don't eat the salary, right? Maybe you say, we don't want Korpisalo. Well, maybe they won't do the deal. Or maybe they'll say, we'll do the deal, but you don't get a first-round pick. And so I'm okay with eating $3 million. You're only saving $2 million, but you're also getting something way bigger there. It's not just, well, look, it's the backup goalie now, and he has to play 40 games like Ullmark played last year. That's not the way I look at it. It's now Jeremy Swayman's net. And I think that's also a very, very valuable piece to this trade. It's now Swayman's net. There's no question about it. We don't have to go into the postseason wondering if they're going to do a stupid rotation or who's going to start game one. We all know. And I think there's value in that. And you save cap space, and you got a first-round pick, and whatever. I don't really care about the bottom six guy, but add that to the list. My guess is they couldn't have done much better this offseason. Now, you want to go back to the deadline. You want to go back to last offseason. You want to go back to 2 deadlines ago when some of us wanted to trade him. Maybe you could have gotten more. But right now, I don't think his stock was very high. I think this trade, this return, is proof of that. Why are they stuck with Korpisalo? The league doesn't like Ullmark as much as most of you do. That's why.
Well, I also think that he blocked you. He blocked you from a lot of situations where maybe you could have gotten more. I do wonder with these pieces if they're definitely going to hang on to them or if these are pieces, including especially the overall 25th pick, if they can move that and parlay it into something else. Kevin Paul Dumont had that in the Globe today. It might have just been on the website, but he said this, which I thought was really strong. He wrote, changes at hand, possibly the most sizable black and gold roster reconfiguration since July 2006, as hinted by general manager Don Sweeney in the aftermath of another early playoff dismissal 5+ weeks ago. So his takeaway was basically, clearly this is not the best return that you could have gotten for a Vezina winning goalie, no matter how the rest of the league feels about him or you feel about him, Jones. The question now is, what's going to happen over the next couple of days? And is it going to be something that really shakes the core of this group or adds a major piece? And are these guys in the return going to be any part of that? Or does the rest of the league look at it and go, yeah, the Bruins got pants. Like, that's ridiculous. Other than the 25th pick, nobody wants those pieces.
Yeah, and so maybe they do use the first-round pick in a separate trade. It's possible. Or maybe they use a first-round pick and they hit on it. Or maybe it's
they flip Korpisalo for something, which I'd look at it differently if they did that.
And, like, Korpisalo in his one cup of coffee with the Kings, and it's the only even worthwhile organization he's been on, was okay. Not great. But, like, if that's your backup and he gives you numbers like he gave you in L.A., he's not that different than Ullmark. And I don't think his numbers this year are going to be that different than Ullmark. What he put up last year?
Ullmark's year when on a good team, he was the Vezina winner. So, I mean, that's a little different.
One of them.
Right.
Then last year's numbers were pretty mediocre.
Korpisalo never came close to that. He never came close to as good as Ullmark.
His time in L.A., his numbers are better than Ullmark last year.
Okay, but was he ever a Vezina finalist even? I mean, come on.
No, obviously
an All-Star team?
I'm just telling you, here in this organization, Ullmark was a bum before he got here, too. So it might be more about the organization than about Ullmark.
Sure, but it's also about the ceiling, I think, which is what I'm trying to say here, is that Korpisalo's ceiling is that he's as good as Ullmark on a down year.
Well,
Ullmark's ceiling is Vezina trophy.
I think your ceiling's just a little unrealistic because you're comparing him to Mookie Betts, who, by the way, has won 2 World Series, never been benched, to my knowledge, in the postseason.
He should have been in 2018.
And hit 296 when the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020. So wake me up when Ullmark does something. Wake me up when Ullmark wins a round. Never mind wins multiple championships like Betts won.
For the record, I really like this take from Arcand.
Why?
I just think it's creative.
Well, it is creative.
I'm a fan of it.
Okay, but do you agree?
Well, I know, because
I'm
more aligned with Arcand that I think that this return generally sucks.
Okay.
And it's somebody that
But you know why it sucks?
Because Ullmark's
not good. Like he
was good for a season.
The return
you have to admit he was good for a season.
Yeah, and that was his outlier
season.
And
it was a historically great season.
Right. That was his outlier. Yeah, I didn't believe in him then. You know that. And so that was his outlier season. And so Mookie Betts is actually good, which is why the return is disappointing. This guy's not, which is why the return is the return, in my estimation. Let's go to Ted in the car. Go ahead, Ted.
Hey, I'm fine with trading Ullmark. I just hate bringing back Korpisalo because he sucks, but also because he's under contract for 4 years. And you got rid of $5 million of Ullmark, which would have been off the books after next year, to take on $12 million of Korpisalo. Like, it sucks. I don't want to have to watch this guy for 4 years.
Okay, I don't think you're going to have to, because if you want to, I'm sure it's a piece that can be moved. Oh, how can they move him? I don't know. Ottawa just did. So you could do it by retaining some salary, throwing in a draft pick, or maybe, as Arcand just suggested, you rehab his career a little bit, his image a little bit, and he's a piece that you can move this trade deadline, next offseason, something like that. And regardless, you're saving money, and you picked up a first-round pick. And I don't even care about the other kid they got in the deal.
Maybe he could become Verdugo.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's that level of player. I don't know. But to me, the term is probably more concerning than the AAV. I'll give you that. Because you were about to be out of the Ullmark deal. But I do think there's something to making it Swayman's net, which it clearly is with this guy. It wasn't with Ullmark. It should have been, but it wasn't with Ullmark. How about our good buddy Shane in Plymouth? What's up, Shane?
Oh, my God, Jones, just when I think you can't get any worse. Did I catch in Meg explaining last night that your favorite movie is Hocus Pocus?
Well, I didn't say. Hang on. I just want to correct the record. I didn't say my favorite movie. It is my favorite Halloween movie, but it's not my favorite movie. But continue. Yes.
Fans, an apology, Jones. Apologize right now to all the Bruins fans for the way you treated them when Bergeron retired.
Why?
You're a fan of those because your takes are the worst.
Because I was right. Because I said the second that it happened, they'd go further without him. What was wrong with that take?
To Hocus Pocus. What is it with Bette Midler? Just let's focus. You want to do an hour on Bette Midler, Reba McEntire, Jones? Like, leave the Bruins fans out of it. Stick to what washed up.
Can I just tell you, Shane, with all of my Shane, before you hang up, and I like Reba and I like Hocus Pocus. I don't know what to tell you. Before you hang up, was I right or wrong about Ullmark? I wanted to trade him 2 years ago. Is that one you can give me credit for my Bruins take or no?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. Well, we're just not going to agree. I don't see how that one's wrong. I saw through his Vezina season and never believed in him. Like I don't know how I could possibly be more right about Ullmark.
But you do believe in sassy redheads when they're performing.
It's a good point. If you dyed his hair,
Bette Midler, Reba McEntire.
What is it with Bette Midler?
Is Bette Midler? Is she a redhead?
In that movie, she is, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But she's the redheaded witch.
No, in the movie, right?
Yeah.
But is she an actual redhead like Reba's?
I don't know. I'm not following how she's coloring her.
Reba's
hair.
a real spitfire redhead. Like that one, I know. I guess is
That's
Bette
a big
Midler
part of her brand.
Yeah, is Bette Midler an actual redhead? I don't know.
Is it a hot take to say Sarah Jessica Parker was legit hot?
In that movie?
In that movie,
definitely.
It's a hot take to say that.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, she definitely was. I'm sorry.
I thought so
too.
Like she wasn't like Cindy Crawford, but like I thought she had it going on.
No.
Did you not think she was hot in Sex in the City?
No.
Not like she was and dressed up like the
No. You seen the South Park episode?
What? No, I don't think I have seen that one.
Oh, go check it out.
Aw.
617-779-7937. It's not nice. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not nice.
Usually South Park is really nice.
In Hocus Pocus, she was bringing it, Arcand. I'm with you on that.
Agreed.
She had that song for all the little children.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Little children.
You know why the children were following her?
With the heaving bosom, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Dude, the cat, when he turned into a guy, he was pretty hot, too.
Binks.
At the end. Yeah.
Yeah, Binks.
Zachary Binks.
Yeah.
He turned into a hot guy. He wasn't quite Devin Sawa and Casper.
Nope.
But he was. That cat had it going on. That cat, he knew.
This is Shane's fault. This is all Shane's fault.
You were real sad when he passed away. I mean, that was a sad moment when he passed
spoiler alert.
But then in the afterlife, he was a hot man.
He was a hot ghost Puritan. Hot Puritan ghost.
617.
Mega's type is so funny.
It's all over the map.
Hot
is what
Puritan
it is.
ghost?